Sergej Sumlenny is the founder and co-director of Europe Resilience Initiative Center. He joins me now live from Berlin. Sergej, good to have you here with us on TRT World. So the increase in attacks on the Russian capital, does it perhaps indicate that somehow Ukraine is trying to put pressure on Russian citizens?
Yeah, hi, and thank you for having invited me today. A small correction: I'm in Lviv in Ukraine now, like not in Berlin, where I am currently stationed. So now I'm in Ukraine, and yes, you're right. It is exactly what the Ukrainians are trying to do. They try to increase pressure on Russia. They try to make the war like visible to Russian industries, to Russian infrastructure. We see that the Ukrainians attack solely militarily or semi-militarily targets like airports or official buildings. The recent attacks on the Moscow city, on the business center, they were targeting buildings of Russian ministries. First of all, Russian digital ministry, which is responsible for all hacking attacks or troll attacks on not only on Ukraine, but also on European countries. Now we see that Vnukovo airport has been under attack. And early this year, we need not to forget it, Ukrainian drones attacked air bases in Engels, in Saratov region, where Russian strategic bombers have been located. And after that, Russia moved all its strategic bombers to far north, to Kola Peninsula, which is far out of the reach of the Ukrainian drones, like more than 1,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian
But
border.
Sergej, if I may,
So,
if
yeah.
this is indeed a strategy to put more pressure on Russia, is this likely to work? Because in the end, the one who is making the decision is President Vladimir Putin. Do you think it is going to somehow influence President Vladimir Putin and make him stop the war in Ukraine?
No, of course, like such a level of attacks will not make Vladimir Putin to stop the war, but increasing pressure on Russian ministries and Russian infrastructure makes overall functioning of the Russian state more complicated. Russia will need to spend more time and resources on air defense. Russia will need to use more energy on fighting back these drones. And it also demonstrates the world the weakness of Russia. Russia cannot control airspace over its own capital, which is already pretty good humiliation of Russian military force. So, of course, the Ukrainians do not think that these drone attacks can win the war, but they can help somehow increase disturbance within the Russian society and within the Russian also military apparatus. And of course, like when the Muscovites see that their holy state ministries are being attacked, some start to ask questions: how successful is this war, and how much does Russia need to continue?
Indeed, and Sergej, before I let you go, I want to talk about Bakhmut. Bakhmut remained the main flashpoint between the Russians and the Ukrainians up until May of 2023. Then there were claims by Moscow that it has captured the town. Now there are claims by the Ukrainians that they have taken control of some areas in Bakhmut. So what exactly is going on in Bakhmut right now? Since you are in Ukraine, I hope you can help us understand in a better way.
Well, Bakhmut is actually was not a large city; it was a mid-sized city of 70,000 people population before the war, and it has been taken by the Russians, mostly taken completely during about like nine months offensive, and now Ukrainians try to win it back. But we need to understand that Bakhmut, like what remains from Bakhmut, is not important anymore. It's only ruins. Like almost nobody is living there. The housings are destroyed, the infrastructure is destroyed. The place itself has purely symbolic meaning, and the Ukrainians try to push further, but they are doing it not to liberate Bakhmut, because there is no Bakhmut anymore. There is nothing to be liberated anymore. They make it to push further through the Russian defense lines. That is what they're doing everywhere, like not only in Bakhmut, in Donetsk region, but also in Zaporizhia region, in the south and in other regions. They're trying to push through the Russian defensive lines. And without having enough air support, without having enough artillery, they're doing the only thing which they can do. They move with small groups. They push like 200 meters, 100 meters, 500 meters further, trying to find ways, passages in minefields which Russians have laid massively along the whole contact line, and try to clean way for the tanks and infantry fighting units. So it's not a battle for Bakhmut anymore. It is a battle to find a way in Russian defensive lines to go to what the military is calling operative room to let the Ukrainian brigades to push through and to make this advance broader.
Fascinating insight into the topic. Sergej Sumlenny, thank you very much for talking to us here on TR2 World.